This episode of Comedy Film Nerds is brought to you by Audible.com, a leading provider of spoken audio information and entertainment. Listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you want. And you can get a free audiobook of your choice at audiblepodcast.com/CFN. Do it.
CFN. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Comedy Film Nerds, episode 264, halfway to 528.
We've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to go through Ex Machina, who I'm really excited to talk about. I want to hear what you have to say. Danny Collins. We're going to talk about a very special documentary at Atari Game Over, and some interesting Blu-rays coming out, too. Big Eyes, The Babadook, Batman vs. Robin, and some abominations coming out into the theaters. So, let's get
Would it have
started.
to do with a guy in a mall?
Oh, yes, it would. A lot. And that's not the only one. No, there's more. There's more movies that should never exist that are coming out this weekend.
Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait to talk about those. So, what do I talk? Oh, I just want to thank, there were some fans that came out and did a little show up in Ventura, California on Saturday. That was fun. Thanks for coming out for that. And
now, when you say little show, what is your idea of a little show?
Oh, just a small, like 1,800 seat, just
Sure.
a small little venue. No, it was like maybe less
Just
than
midgets in the audience?
Yeah, just midgets, small people, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
Right.
On each other's shoulders.
Yeah. So not a small audience in numbers.
But just
Size.
people. Or no, they're regular size people. I just thought
Low
they're
ceiling?
No, they're
That kind of small?
Their integrity.
People are all bent over?
They were small.
Performing in a diorama.
Yeah, I was a great diorama show, guys. It's up in Ventura. You should.
If you're of mine. Yeah. If you're of mine in the Ventura area.
Yeah.
You want to play a smallish venue. What was the name of this place? Larry's House of Tiny Seats?
It was so I don't know. It was so small. It was a restaurant. It's like a back room at a
You
restaurant.
should probably tell the audience who you're talking to. I just realized.
Yeah, we haven't introduced. We haven't
I
introduced.
should shut up and let you do your job.
Yeah, goddamn it!
Fine.
Can we
I'll be
start
over here
a
if you need me.
goddamn show without your insults that I have to play shitty rooms in Ventura? I don't need this bullshit.
You don't. You don't need this? I misunderstood. I got a completely different memo that said this is exactly what you needed.
What was from your publicist?
My publicist was a bald-faced liar. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a callback to a conversation that none of you are privy to.
Yeah. We have a very special guest, second time on the program, and has a new movie out. Actually, maybe it's the third time if you count the live show.
Directorial debut.
Yeah,
Directorial debut.
The director of Misery Loves Comedy, a actor, writer, producer, comedian,
Hater of small
venues, and now a director. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kevin Pollak.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're quiet.
Yeah.
What? We give you the big build-up?
Now I've got nothing to say. I'm not sure which one of those things I agree to in the descriptive form. Most notably, here now and very happy. And big fan of this particular show. So how about that?
Outstanding.
Great to have you.
And I know tell us a little bit about your pod before we get into we'll get into your film a little bit.
Sure.
But your podcast.
Kevin Pollak's chat show.
The award-winning?
There's podcast awards.
Remember the Streamies? Did you ever hear about the board called the Streamies?
Sure.
Yeah, see,
Yes.
I was foolish enough to get into the video end of this. And for you kids out there thinking about getting into the podcast business, do not get into the video end of things. It is such an enormous pain in the ass. And clearly no one gives a shit because
They just want to listen.
80% conservatively of our audience dials in audibly only.
Yeah.
But I like to say things like, Tom Hanks sat at my desk for 2 hours and 42 minutes, which is arguably the longest on-camera interview he's ever given. That makes me happy, just to say it, which I often do without microphones. I'll just say it. Sometimes in the car, sometimes at the dry cleaner.
How was that interview, though? 2 hours and 42 minutes?
Horrible.
He is the worst.
Wouldn't shut up. Yeah.
You only wanted it to be an hour.
I would have been happy with 42 minutes, not 2 hours and 42 minutes. No, it was astounding, and a piece of which I stole and put into the documentary. I stole a little piece of him and another little piece of Larry David from the chat show. But everyone else, I used a cinematographer, and I had a thing and settings and different locations. But those two, I had to grab a little piece because it was the only way I could get them. But, to get Tom Hanks to a place where he's got a Pabst Blue Ribbon in each paw, and calling one his bitterness juice, one his happy juice, and to get to the point where he said 53 years of self-loathing darkness, which is the piece I use in the film, because you don't expect someone like that to suggest that's been going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, part of it that makes sense. He just can't catch a break.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if anyone should be living in self-loathing darkness.
It's the guy who sleeps on a fortress of Oscars.
Yeah. A guy who touched the hand of greatness and said, I'm good here.
But that's interesting, though. I mean,
yeah, you wouldn't expect that from Tom Hanks.
Well, I mean, it also makes you show like every artist.
Right.
Yeah,
nobody came into this everything's good.
I think what it is the human element, which is really what I tried to capture more than anything else in the film, and try to capture with the chat show that you mentioned that we're talking about first, is just breaking them down, breaking their spirit, and getting them to speak like a human being instead of these quick little
remove the facade.
Yeah, I mean, we just celebrated 6 years doing a show at Largo at the Coronet with Dana Carvey and Will Forte, and it was phenomenal and fantastic because we rarely do them live in front of an audience. Mm-hmm. But 6 years suggests we were early adopters to the podcast nation.
Yes.
Now, of course, being asked by a friend to be on their podcast is a current form of jury duty in Los Angeles.
Yes.
There's no other way to put it. They send you a form, you try to avoid it, you make up excuses, you have your lawyer draw up a letter.
It's like, I can't make that time. What about 2 hours later?
Yeah.
Then if there's always, no, I'd say I have something else. Oh, no, we'll do it at night. Then we'll work around
Thursday
your
and not
schedule.
Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Happy
we
to be here.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Happy to be here. Kidding? Yeah.
Well, I really, really want to hear about this movie, Ex Machina, because it was one of those movies I thought, oh, that's great, this will be playing everywhere, and it's not. It's in 2 theaters.
Which one now?
LA,
Ex Machina.
And it wasn't even playing in the Valley at all, so I have to go down to Hollywood to see it. So,
and how did you see it?
I went to the ArcLight in Hollywood. I live near the beach and drove all the way there.
What's the address?
The address of my house is.
You live near which beach? Is there one in particular? Because, to say the beach doesn't...
There's only one goddamn beach, Kevin, and it's
the one you live near.
Yeah, that's right, bitch. I surfed in it this morning, and I don't need anybody's fucking back yak. That's what I'm talking about.
Nice! How was the surf this morning?
It was nice.
Yeah?
I ran into Lachlan Patterson as a comic in the water, and it was great.
I murdered him.
I drowned him. Nobody saw it.
Did you ask him what the fuck with the name?
Yeah, I said, God, that's a stupid name. I thought my name was dumb.
Did your parents rather want you to get your ass kicked on a daily basis at school? What? Lachlan?
He's tall and strong, so they were like,
better call him Lachlan.
Yeah.
Look at the size of that baby.
Make him fight. Make him be a fighter.
Yeah.
So I drove into Hollywood from the beach, which is great. Hollywood, the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And I drove into the godforsaken hellhole that is east of the 405.
Yes.
It is a wasteland
Yes.
of cannibals
Sure.
and apocalyptic.
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Maybe not in our lifetime.
Right.
Hopefully not.
If it is, I don't care. I won't
You won't
notice
be
it.
there.
I will be at
We'll
the
see.
beach.
You'll be protected apparently by the 405.
We're
At some point we'll be turned into a curtain.
We're one sig alert away from being Mad Max around here.
Yeah.
We're pretty close.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it didn't happen last night while I was watching this film.
How'd you hear about the damn film?
We talked about it on this show maybe a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And the trailer, I watched the trailer online. It looks really good. Alex Garland is the director who did 28 Days Later, and he also did The Beach.
Where Graham lives.
Where Graham lives, the DiCaprio was basically playing me.
Do you guys watch Walking Dead?
I do. Yeah.
And did you see 28 Days Later?
Yes.
Okay. Forgive my abject ignorance. They're taken from the same graphic novel, the same book, or just
completely
annoyingly
different.
similar in inception?
No, 28 Days Later, the zombies are fast.
Aha.
Walking Dead.
And it's,
slow.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Or
one's
split
British.
hairs.
And what?
And one's British.
One's British,
one's
one's
yeah.
Atlanta.
Yeah. One shot in Atlanta,
Yeah.
formerly British.
Yeah. One has a British lead. The other, no.
Okay.
So this movie,
Pretending to be American.
Okay.
which I really like, 28 Days Later, came out.
I liked it a lot.
Right?
Which is
Yeah.
why I don't watch Walking Dead. I felt like fast or slow, I got my fill of the zombie story. Mm-hmm. I, like yourself, have friends who are religious about watching Walking Dead. You know, there's so much great content now.
It is an
on
enjoyable show.
television.
I've watched
It's
every episode.
extraordinary. Yeah.
The thing is, and here's what happened with me with Walking Dead. I think the first season I was like, oh, this is really cool because it was based on the graphic novel. Second season, cool. By the middle of the third season, I was like, I'm done. And I'm also done with the and this isn't Walking Dead's fault, but just it's zombie everything. It's like hearing about bacon. Like, I don't give a shit how much you like bacon or zombies.
Yeah, zombies are everywhere. Books, TVs, movies.
And so-
they're
Yeah.
oversaturated.
And you're right. It's a good point because, 10, 12 years prior, 28 Days Later came out, which was kind of,
Holy shit, what is this?
oh my God, we haven't seen a zombie film like this ever, maybe?
Yeah.
And that was amazing.
And they're actually
It felt cutting edge. Walking Dead felt 180 degrees from cutting edge.
I wouldn't say that. It's actually really well put
That's 'cause
together.
you're a fan of the show.
That's because I am a fan of the show. However, I will
I'm
probably
speaking as someone who's never seen the show. So naturally, I'm going to be the authority here.
But they are, and it's a typical network thing. It's like, well, something successful, let's oversaturate it. Now there's going to be a spin-off, and there's going to
Thank
be an
God.
LA-based Walking Dead. I'm like,
good.
no, you don't. No, make it special.
Come on.
What's the number one rule?
LA-based Walking
An
Dead?
LA-based
So
Walking
it's like
Better looking
NCIS
zombies. Yeah.
is now in New Orleans. Zombies take over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh only.
Yeah. Walking Dead Portland.
Yeah. Hey, there is something that said, leave him wanting just a little more. Leave him wanting a little more.
No,
you don't
I-
have to give me too much zombie.
I get it. If it works, do it to death.
So
That's what show business does.
So Kevin's not familiar with this film. Give him the synopsis.
I'll read it to you right
Please.
now. A young programmer is selected to participate in a breakthrough experiment in artificial intelligence by evaluating the human qualities of a breathtaking female AI. So, who is played by this girl, Alicia Vikander? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I know she is. In fact, she's someone I just put on a short list for a film I'm allegedly directing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well,
Then you
she's
should probably see this film.
Yeah, no, I should. But she's also in, is it Man from U.N.C.L.E.? Is that
she's
her?
in Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Okay, yeah.
She did Seventh Son, and
She shouldn't put that on her.
She's crazy with the beautiful.
she's
Yes,
very
she
beautiful,
is.
and she
And
does
as an actress, how do you rate her?
She was great.
Fantastic.
Because she's playing the 95% of the film, she's in a prosthetic robot suit, basically, and they did an amazing job of makeup and CG on this.
Mm-hmm.
I kept looking for it, and it was really hard to find in terms of like, that's computer. It was hard to find. So,
What's the rule on this show about spoiler alerts, by the way? Do you not give a fuck?
no spoilers. No spoilers.
spoilers.
Don't ruin it.
Okay.
Don't
Then
worry.
you just did.
In terms of how.
95%. Suggesting there's 5% where she's not.
Do you know where that 5% is?
That's the Easter egg?
Well, that's the setup of the trailer too. She slowly gets more human parts put on her.
As it were.
As it were. So it's amazing. Oscar Isaac plays the sort of billionaire genius.
And I didn't even recognize him at first.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's great. And he's in, he's got some, billionaire compound out in the middle of nowhere. So there's all this high security. Domhnall Gleeson from Harry Potter, who's also
Donald.
in that. Donald, whatever. Dami.
Love
Donald.
that you did not know. That makes me happy.
I'm the worst at pronouncing names. I have been mispronouncing my own name for a good number of years. So He's great in it as the young programmer. Oscar Isaac, like, is he testing everybody? There's all these. He's very secretive. I don't want this. You can take it out of the stand if you want.
I like this right here.
Okay.
This makes me happy. I'm leaning back. I'm holding with both hands.
Yeah.
Nobody gets.
If this was a video podcast, you could see Kevin holding the microphone in the most peculiar manner that you've ever seen.
I'm trying to make you both uncomfortable, and I wasn't succeeding before. So I thought I would try something new.
Well, that's where the future's going, video podcasting, right?
Also, get a table that has less distance between you and your guests.
Yeah.
That way they go, hey, how's it going? So I was...
I want to feel you.
I have this table. Is this the Costco table?
Yeah, this is the Costco.
I like it.
This might be Staples.
I like what it says, so then I don't care for it.
Yeah.
I would never buy, ever. No. So he's a billionaire.
He's a billionaire, and he plays this sort of mad genius really well. I'm clearly smarter than you.
A little bit of ego.
Like a big ego.
So who do you think he's more modeled after, Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, or it doesn't matter?
He's sort of a new, like,
Elon Musk
if Dana White from the UFC was like as smart as Steve Jobs.
Wow.
A little bit of that. A little bit of like alpha male-y, like not nerdy. Like there's scenes where he's hitting a heavy bag and you're just like, oh wow, who's he playing who against?
He may be a machine. Don't say.
Don't say it.
No.
95% chance.
Yeah.
But I say this. It's one of the more inventive AI movies that I've ever seen. So many times the movie AI fell flat. iRobot was like, ugh. And it's dealing with some of those same themes, but does it in the most inventive.
Right.
And I left there physically tense like you are at like a good suspense thriller. Like I was tense like Jesus.
Right.
And the scenes,
You cut yourself off on the word horror. I think you were going to say horror.
Horror, yeah.
Okay, because you cut yourself cryptically at horror, and I just wanted to clarify for your fans that you're not going to say you were on edge like at a whorehouse.
When I'm at a whorehouse, I'm very relaxed. Yeah. I'm not. I'm comfortable.
I got your back, is all I'm saying.
No, but I had that tension like I would be at a whorehouse. Sure, but like because there's
a house of horrors.
There's I don't know how it's going to end.
You don't know how it's going to end.
Technically, you kind of should.
Yeah.
You kind of should know.
Spoiler alert. You know, I'm weird.
Yeah.
I'm
weird that way.
Yeah. You pay for the whole package.
Uh-huh.
I pay for him to do. I always go. Here's an extra 50.
Surprise me.
Do whatever you feel like.
Yeah. If something comes out of me, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know how this is going to end. I have no idea.
I don't.
No.
You have weapons. I don't care.
Sure.
This is a loving thing. If it's a fight, I don't care.
Right.
So this film,
50 Shades of Graham. It doesn't matter.
50 Shades of Graham. All right, somebody make that poster and post it to the Comedy Film Nerds Facebook page. 50 Shades of Graham. Make it right now.
Yeah, stop fucking around.
Yeah. But it is the acting scenes.
Make sure you put at the bottom, curious.
Now you guys had to go see that movie too. 50 Shades of Grey?
Yes.
He saw it.
You don't both have to. You
No.
choose up who's going to see what.
Yeah. Every once in a while, we'll both see one, and then we'll do what we call the spoiler ep of it, where we'll talk about the whole movie front to back.
Beautiful.
But this
Wasn't that one.
Nope.
was no. Couldn't. We were going to, but then after I heard about it, I was like, I can't.
Nope.
Yeah.
I can't see this.
It was
It looks
done.
dumb. I would rather feel tense in a whorehouse.
Is she going to get an acting career? The girl from the 50 Shades?
She will.
The offspring from the Don John film?
If she does, it won't be from this film.
No.
No.
I mean, she's getting booked. She's
Right.
definitely booking gigs. She'll have to prove some chops at some point, you're saying.
Yes.
As they all do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
maybe they could make a movie about her fighting with her mom about not wanting to see the movie. That would be
what
great.
kid? That was so ridiculous.
That was such a great part of the
Her
Academy
mom was
Awards.
like, "No, I don't want to watch my daughter have sex." Mom,
Yeah, it's just a movie. Like this petulant, like
how dumb?
Minnie Griffin.
Like, do you want to watch your parents have sex? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
What's wrong
Exactly.
with you? One of our,
What mother would not want to see her daughter have fake sex in a movie?
yeah.
What the fuck is the matter with Melanie?
Violent S&M,
Yeah.
chokey.
As one
So
of our fans
weird that
put it,
she was-
maybe your mom doesn't want to see you get torture banged.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, again, I repeat, what mother does not want to see their daughter fake torture bang?
So now I'm glad to hear this movie was good. I was really hoping this movie.
It's
would be
such
good
a
too.
limited release. It's only in 2 theaters in LA. Guys, if
And
you're,
it's not on demand either. It's a hard movie to find.
it's really hard to find. Search it out. I kind of think you need to see it on a big screen. Here's the thing I wanted to talk about. The sound design, and it reminds me of the episode we did with Dave Schmidt, the sound designer, around a year ago. They do such interesting things with the sound design because she's moving and you hear just very faint little like
servos and clicks and stuff.
But it's not all like, you know, like.
It's not R2-D2.
And her acting ability is, she's not moving all robot-y, but she's moving like an AI. I mean, like it's humanish, but not. Like
you're saying Bill Irwin worked with her a little, maybe?
Probably, yeah. I think
some space work.
I think Bill Irwin did some space work. So it's really, there's all these little subtle, cool things in there that make it a great film.
Right on.
And there's basically 3 people in the whole movie.
I'm sold.
Yes. Check it out.
Should we let our guest go next on Danny
Collins?
Collins?
How did Danny do in the cinema?
So, did you guys review this one?
No.
We haven't
came
seen
out?
it yet.
Oh. May I?
Please. Yes.
Rush, run, don't walk in the opposite direction. The problem is, my first question, of course, is this. What year? When did it happen that I became an old black blues player? I don't know, because there was a lot of yelling at one point in my career, and maybe it left me here. But now, in this movie, Danny Collins, you can't see because it's not a video podcast, but I am touching something with both of my hands as I speak. I do this because I think it's charming and cute. That is what you can look forward to in the whole movie of Danny Collins. He doesn't stop touching things because, wait, we're going to do this, right? No, we should. It is so fucking horrible of a performance, and it's just painful.
I'm annoyed from that
happened to Al
60-second
Pacino?
spoof you were doing, like, let alone in the theater.
Well, I'm trying to capture the level of annoyance.
God.
That I was squirming.
What was the basic story of this movie?
Isn't it based on a real thing?
It's not well, yes. There's a guy who found out a letter was written to him by his hero, John Lennon, 35, 40 years past his prime. But it was written to him when he was a young man, but he never knew it was written to him. And it was based on John Lennon seeing an interview this singer-songwriter gave in a magazine. And John Lennon reached out to say, it's not going to be that bad. Give me a call, and left his phone number. You're going to be okay. And instead, this guy ends up selling out and doing sort of a Sweet Caroline becomes his hit, and he opens up with him at the Greek Theater singing it for the 1 billionth time.
Right.
And he's in his 60s, and he's realizes he's sold out years ago, and it's all meaningless. And
he's blind, right?
And as it turns out, I can't see nothing, because last time I couldn't. They gave me an Oscar. Look at this. I'm knocking shit over. Give me the trophy. I can dance without singing. So, yeah, it's so fucking bad.
Now, was Christopher Walken in this movie?
No, but I will teach you now how to do Liam Neeson, the 64-year-old action star. Have you guys talked about that?
Love him.
Yes.
How the fuck did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know how it happened.
I don't know how it happened, but it keeps happening.
I love it.
Liam, you know what you need to do. You need to start doing action films. So the one-word impression game is created by Alan Arkin and his youngest son, Tony. And the rules are, you can only use one word to do the entire impersonation. You must sell the entire impersonation using only one word, and here's the tricky part. It cannot be a word the person is famous for saying. So imagine Bane, but you can't say anything he's ever said on film. So the one word, there you go. That's not bad. And you also tapped in one of the keys, which is use as many syllables as possible.
Sure.
So you're spending more time with the person. This is the 3-syllable word. The word is bananas. And I don't know where this came to me. I just said it out loud while driving, and I in a heartbeat went, well, as you're about to do, so I'll just do it. You'll hopefully have the same reaction I had in the car, and now a few audiences that I've done it for have had it en masse. Liam Neeson saying the word bananas. Bananas. There's no reason for it to be that simple. There's no reason for it to be that simple. There's no explanation. Sir, you've ordered the waffles. Did you want any fruit on that? Bananas. It doesn't.
And he's about to punch you right after he says bananas?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a fun game. You just have to find a word that for some reason taps you right into because you've probably seen me do the Jason Statham thing where he says 6 words in a row faster than any human being on the planet. In fact, he reduces 6 words to 2 syllables.
Which are?
So the 6 words are, do you know what I mean? Which he says as, Joe Main.
Yes.
Did you say chow mein? It sounded like you said chow mein. Chow mein. If I put you in that chair, you'd be dead in 30 seconds. Chow mein. Actually, I don't know what you mean. You lost me around the chair part because you talk too fast. Joe Mean. You just have to say Joe Mean. That's it.
Right, and bananas is...
Bananas.
You said it Irishy,
little
and
Irishy.
low, and gravelly,
That's
fighty,
right.
CIA, special op.
Now, Statham's in there with the gravelly. They got the similar gravelly thing.
And Statham is...
Much more of the...
And he's brilliant in Furious 7. We talked about it already on this podcast. He's brilliant in it.
I will never know, so I'll take your word for it.
All right, so no go on Dan Collins.
No go on Danny Collins.
Danny Collins getting a big...
Don't.
All right.
Yeah, please don't.
All right, Chris,
I'm still thinking of that one-word impression game.
Yeah, you'll come up with one by the end of it.
What was that? I think Liam Neeson was Erythromycin.
Erythromycin? Who are you doing?
He's trying to come up with as many syllables.
Erythromycin?
Yeah.
He's a scratchy throat.
All right.
Anyway, I saw a very special documentary called Atari Game Over, and this was a really interesting look at the rise and fall of Atari. And what was fascinating about this movie is that Xbox, it was funded by Xbox. It was one of the things that was supposed to launch their big online content initiative, but that fizzled a bit, so they kind of gutted that after they were going to launch it. But the actual documentary is now becoming available, not just, it was first just on Xbox Live, only Xbox owners could watch it, but now it's becoming more available. It's on Netflix, and you could get it in other places. And it's fascinating. It's way better than we talked about earlier.
So it's
Video
just a
games,
documentary about the whole...
Documentary about Atari, the rise and fall, but it's specifically on the urban legend of how the game E.T. not only destroyed Atari, but also crippled the entire video game industry. It was such this big bloated disaster that came out, and everyone hated the game, and they wasted and lost all this money, and they had all these extra cartridges, so they buried them in a landfill in New Mexico. And part of the story is them going to New Mexico and trying to find where they buried them to dig up these cartridges to see if it was actually true.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for it and thought it looked spectacular.
It is. It's fantastic. And what they did really right about this movie is, like, when we talk about video games, the movie, it was just like, it barely scratched the surface of what was going on. It wasn't a good documentary. It was like, okay, well, this is kind of for fans, but blah, blah, blah. It's not a good documentary. This is a good documentary because they find the original programmers, especially the one that made E.T., and they go through, like, the whole culture of, like, this hedonistic lifestyle at Atari. You know, the engineers were like gods over there. And, you know, they had a hot tub right in the office, and they were smoking.
That's what we've got.
Yeah. And that kind of thing.
Sitting in one now.
And yeah, and you see them now older, and you see the engineer older, and he's talking about how, like, that was kind of the best time in his life, and there's never been a point in his life after that that's really come close to him realizing how great life could be. So you feel a little melancholy for this guy. And then you also see the height of arrogance of these programmers when they were on top of the world, because these cartridges, even though they look very simple now, they still took 5 to 6 months to make. You know, even like these little, like, combat and these old Atari games, Adventure. And when E.T. came out, it was a licensed property that obviously they had to do, and it had to be out by Christmas. And they went to this arrogant programmer, and he said, look, normally these cartridges are done in 5 to 6 months. Can you do it in 5 to 6 weeks? And he went, yes. And therein was the beginning of the trouble, because this game...
Beginning of the end, it sounds like.
Yeah, pretty much. And because this game was really awful. I remember playing it as a kid, and it was...
Thinking it was shit.
Thinking it was absolutely terrible. It made no sense. It was like it captured none of the film. Like, even on the Atari 2600, I remember playing, like, the Indiana Jones game. As simple as it was, played it over and over and over again. Absolutely loved it. And some of these other games, you just, we all have these memories, if you grew up in the 80s, of sitting in a basement in front of a TV with your Atari 2600 and trading cartridges with friends and doing all these things. And all those memories kind of come flooding back. So as you're watching this film, because it's very nostalgic for us if you were a child of the 80s. One of the things I didn't like about the movie, it was too short. It was only like an hour and 7 minutes. And Atari has a very, very rich history. You could have gone, there's a lot of places too you could have gone, like, instead of just concentrating like on the
Is there a minimum
landfill.
for cinema?
Generally, you want to kind of hit that 80-minute mark
for sure.
there.
No, I think
But is there a rule?
There's not a rule. No.
I thought it had to be 82 to actually get theatrical release.
Theatrical release, yeah.
But now that's so gray with all this VOD and Netflix.
It definitely is. But this is one of those few documentaries that are like, well, no, this needs to be longer. I wanted to see a lot more of this because what I also didn't realize about Atari is they got bought early on. Warner Brothers bought them very early on, and there were the corporate people up top, and then but a lot of them, they left them alone just because they were literally printing money at that point. And then when the E.T. game came in, another executive up top made this crazy deal with Spielberg that pretty much was the beginning of the bankrupting of the company. But what it didn't go, so I don't want to spoil anything of what happens, but it was really interesting when they actually started digging up the landfill and what they found, and it kind of demystified some of the myths about Atari and the destruction of the video game industry. What it didn't go into, and what I really would have liked to see, is also artist rights, because these programmers were making all these games that were making millions of dollars. They were selling millions of copies, and they weren't sharing in any of the profits. And a few of them...
Well, that stopped happening.
Yeah.
Good to know that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, thank God.
So it's done.
But this is a very important part for the video game industry, because those programmers got together, left Atari, and started a little company called Activision.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is one of the biggest video game companies on the planet, and has been for many years. Yeah, so that's kind of a big part of the Atari story that they could have explored a little bit. But it's a fantastic documentary, and it does what great documentaries do. It shows you a side of this world that you didn't know about, even if you're a fan, and it also gives it a human element when you see the programmers and the people involved and have them tell their stories, what it was like at that time, and kind of give like a retrospective of like, yeah, had we known this or had we known that, and this is what it was like, and it's never that way again. In fact, they went to the old campus where Atari used to be, and the programmer was like getting misty on it. He's like, yeah, this brings back a lot of memories. He's like, that building, that's where that was,
Wow.
That's where the hot tub was.
That's where we did blow.
Yeah, pretty much. I know there's outtakes that have quotes like that in there. There's no question what went on there. It's all like the nerdy stuff that would happen like in the 70s, like the cliches. It's like, yeah, these engineers were geniuses. They were on campus. There were girls there. They were talking to us. That kind of
Crazy.
It's a great documentary.
Girls were talking to us.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Highlight of my life.
Good old days.
When girls would talk to you.
Yeah.
All right, well, speaking of documentaries, now, Kevin, let's go into, you've been working on Misery Loves Comedy for, what, year and a half, 2 years probably, longer?
September of 13.
Okay.
We shot for 4 5-day weeks. Freddie Prinze Jr. was the first one, talking about his dad on camera for the first time ever.
Wow.
I don't know your guys' age, but I was barely old enough in starting in stand-up, to catch the window, the tiny, tiny window that Freddie Prinze Sr.
I remember watching Chico and the Man.
Yeah. So here's what you may not remember. At 19, Freddie Prinze is on The Tonight Show for the first time. One of the youngest comedians to appear on The Tonight Show ever at age 19. Does so well that about 6 weeks or so later, Carson has him on to guest host. Still the youngest guest host in history at 19. Asked him to guest host. To be brought back 6 weeks later would have been a grand slam to win the World Series. He was asked to come back and guest host the show at 19.
When Carson was
the king of the world.
The number one guy.
Yeah, no, there wasn't even a number two.
Yeah.
He was just hit. By 20, he's starring in his own television show, Chico and the Man, dead at 22. We're talking about 3 years only of this white hot entity. And so to hear Freddie talk about it for the first time on camera was pretty spectacular. But then we spent time with a lot of comedians, a lot of stand-ups, with the thesis, you have to be miserable to be funny. It was brought to me, this woman, Becky Newhall, wanted to do a documentary about comedians. She came up with a great title, Misery Loves Comedy. But she wanted to do it just about comedians who suffered from clinical depression. She then talked to a producer.
Boy, that narrows it down.
Right? It's interesting, but there's not enough there. To be honest with you, when it was brought to me, I said, there's a much bigger story here. That'll be a part of it, certainly. And we have people like Jim Jeffries in the film talking hysterically first, and then ultimately towards the end, he does talk about being depressed at times and suicidal and whatnot. Maria Bamford, who talks on stage about her time at a psych ward. To see her open up and just to be able to talk about what that had meant to her to be able to take that on stage. And the first time talking about it with a shaky voice, and then by the end, 8 or 10 performances in, it's, so you're at the psych ward like you do, to have her say that, and Mitch Hedberg's widow.
Really?
Talking about their days.
Lynn Shawcroft.
That's right. And, then you've got Judd Apatow talking about, because he started as a stand-up, never really being able to figure out where happiness is, thinking that when his films did well, that would bring him some happiness, and they did, but for such a brief period of time, that now he realizes the happiness comes from just the doing it, the filming, and then the editing, and that's where the happiness lies. And now he says in my film, that he would love to figure out a way to feel happiness in nothing. And so far, he's failing miserably at that. But when you talk to funny people about the misery, whether it's Amy Schumer, Christopher Guest, Marty Short talks about being jealous. So jealous at one point. He was on his way to have dinner with his wife with Bill Murray, who had just got Saturday Night Live. And he stops, he and his wife, from walking at one point and says, I can't go to dinner and pretend I'm happy for Billy, because I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and so he sits down on a bench, and his wife says, well, how long do you think this might be? And he says, I don't know, maybe the night. And he says, for years after, we would drive by and point and go, look, there's Breakdown Corner. Remember Breakdown Corner? So to hear Marty Short talk about being so jealous he was frozen physically by it, you don't think about that possibility. Amy Schumer talking about being coddled by her parents to the point where she would, as a 5-6-year-old, tell meaningless, stupid stories that she was clearly making up about a bunny in a forest. And her parents would react with such joy and then videotape it. And then she would watch it afterwards and say, well, this girl's going to be a star. Just the cluelessness of being that coddled. Versus somebody like Wayne Fetterman, who talks about the first time he had an act with a ukulele, he said, which eventually he did on TV and on a show, but when his stepfather first saw it, his stepfather said, what are you going to do with that? So the full spectrum of support and not. So I had over 60 hours of interviews when we got done with this. To do a 94-minute film, I had to go into the vacuum. I had been next to an editor for stand-up specials and for TV pilots and stuff, but I'd never been the one pushing the buttons before. And when you have that much material and no script, no narrative, nothing to follow, I had to make up what the fuck this thing was about, ultimately. To give
Believe me, I understand.
Ebb and flow.
We were looking at footage right before you came in.
Before you came in.
Really?
Talking about what scenes to cut in earbuds.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. When there's no script. I mean, I had a bit of a brainstorm, as it turns out. Right before we started shooting, I asked my better half, who's also the head writer on the chat show, Jamie Foxx, who's a big fan of the Gram. I think I pointed out when I first arrived, if that's how you say her name, because you're not even sure. But I said, you've got this genius level of attention to detail. So when I'm doing these interviews, why don't we give you headphones, have a computer screen in front of you so you can write in a Word doc and keep notes. But I'm going to give you the time codes that's synced up to the sound. So as I'm conducting the interview, if a buzzword or a keyword or anything is worth writing down to bring me back to a moment in the interview and put the time code next to it, he said this, time code. Now I've got these massive notes, and I don't have to watch 70 hours of interviews and try to figure out where to start. I at least had these notes, which were spectacular.
Wow.
I highly recommend that if you're going to do a Talking Heads interview.
That's a great...
Yeah, it was an incredible tool. Because I always knew that script supervisor was wildly important when there is a script.
Right.
To remember which take and which this and
Sure.
which that and which move. And this time he had the cigarette up and not down. And it just came to me in a flash right before we started the first one, thank God. And also, thank goodness, there was a deadline to submit this thing to Sundance at the end of September of last year, 2014, 1 year later. That's how long I was editing. And could have continued, by the way.
Of course.
Yeah.
Without that deadline, I'd be editing today.
A documentary, the best thing you can have is a deadline.
Yep, somebody take it away from you.
You have to say, and we were talking about this. We were like, a couple, 3-4 months ago, we're like, do you think we can have earbuds ready for Podfest in September? And we kind of went, yeah, we're going to make sure, because now it's like picture lock in July, and we just are running like fucking wild horses to get to that.
Yeah.
And that is so important, because the first documentary I did took me 3.5 years because, well, we didn't have the money, and this guy was editing part-time. Stop and start.
Yeah.
And then I remember going with Afghanistan, was the first film, going, I'm just done.
Yeah.
You just like, could we tweak? People watching go, maybe you should. I go, if you have $100,000 in cash and unmarked bills in a gym bag, then I'll fucking do that. Otherwise, no.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because I was forced to go into the vacuum of editing alone, that.
So you were doing this on Final Cut Pro? And
no. So first I had this 2-time Academy Award winner, Slumming, visual effects genius. He won an Academy Award for Titanic and then for Hugo, and he's been shooting second unit for Scorsese since The Aviator. Robert Legato, incredible. And I had done this little movie that he directed, and we became friends. So when I started doing the documentary, we were starting to gear up for it. I mentioned it to him in a conversation on the phone. What are you doing? What are you up to? And I told him, and he said, I could. If you need any help, I could help you with that. So it was decided that he would edit it. So when we finished shooting in October, I got him the stuff, and we started looking at various pieces of it. But he was also finishing visual effects on Wolf of Wall Street. And I started to realize I'm getting less and less of this guy's time. And because he was doing it for free, sometimes you get what you pay for. Yeah. By the way, all the 60-plus on-camera talent in a documentary that I got didn't pay any of them.
Right.
And for those of you young filmmakers out there, if you want to get famous people to be in your film, it's real simple. Don't pay them. Because if you pay them, you've got agents, managers, and publicists to deal with, and you'll never get any of them.
Yeah.
So just figure out a way to not pay them a penny. So Legato became unavailable, right? And Sundance... January of 2014 was approaching, and my financiers said, we would love if you could just make a 10-minute teaser, not to force you, not to rush you. I know you've only been looking at footage for 2 months already, monkeys. But if you could just cobble together 10 minutes, it'd be great, so we could bring to Sundance and show some potential investors for our slate of films in next year. So thank Christ they did, and that forced Legato and I to come up with this 10-minute teaser with some sort of flow, some sort of, no narrative per se, but just some one person finishes the other person's sentence. You don't know where it's going. It's just some kind of flow and some kind of through line, which he mostly guided. And then after that, and it doing successfully, playing at these fundraising outings at Sundance of 14, I finally was able to say to the 2-time Academy Award winner, thank you very much for the guidance. Clearly, I need to take this into my own hands because I need to spend 10 hours a day with it until it's done.
Right.
And he showed me the 6 basic moves of Premiere Pro, Adobe. And I think a monkey could use this program because I had not pushed these 6 buttons ever before. And he just showed me the basic moves of collecting pieces and putting them into a bin and storing them here and being able to look at them and put up 2 monitors and be able to shake from one side to the other and all that stuff. And I began cutting the rest. So what I did was just open up the 10 minutes, and I would drop in another 30 seconds in the middle of it here and drop in 20 seconds in the middle of it there. And then eventually it grew and it grew and it grew, and I realized, oh, so now it's this pointless 27 minutes instead of fast-moving 10 minutes. And then I realized there's got to be some sort of story to tell here. And then chapter titles and first and second, third act. So while the premise was, the thesis that was brought to me, do you have to be miserable to be funny, that becomes the third act. And the first two acts are getting to know these people. What the fuck? Where do these people come from? And why the fuck are they doing this?
Right.
If America's number one fear above death is public speaking, what the fuck's the matter with us?
Right.
That we need to be in front of the public and speak. Mm-hmm. Children suffer from hey, look at me disease. They're children. They need attention. Adults clearly suffer from hey, look at me disease. Otherwise, Facebook wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar company. You're not someone unless you have a page. Now you feel like you're somebody. Mm-hmm. But who chooses hey, look at me as a profession? Who devotes their life to hey, look at me to earn a living? And then just talking about getting on stage and feeling the drug, the actual endorphin that's released, but the drug of the audience has come to see you. You're going to take them for a ride of your choosing for an hour. You control the ebb and the flow. And that control that you have over them is something you will never experience in normal life.
Anywhere.
Nowhere, no how, no one
ever
has that kind of control for a minute, let alone an hour. Mm-hmm. It becomes intoxicating. And when you try to go back to your normal life, so many comedians chase with alcohol and drugs, or as Jim Norton insisted, sex, whatever the addiction is. And so we get to
assisted sex.
Would I say, or did I say?
Did you say Jim Norton?
No, as Jim Norton
sex?
insisted, sex addiction is also
got it
right.
So the first two acts, you get to know these people before you get to the ultimate question. And also there's at times where you see how miserable they are in the first two acts. Like in the case of Mark Maron, he's made a career out of being miserable and a very successful one as of late. And to have him spend the first couple acts talking about his journey of misery, and then towards the end when I say, so, do you have to be miserable to be funny? He says, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think you do. But we just saw him be as miserable as possible. So at the same time as I'm cutting it, and you may have found this, funny people can't help but be funny when talking about not funny things.
It's just going to happen.
Absolutely.
They can't help it. Mm-hmm. So when I'm cutting the film, I realize this is a comedy. I'm going to cut this for laughs because there's parts in here that are just ridiculously funny. And so when you guys review it, keep in mind, I went for the funny. The reviews have been good when we premiered at Sundance, but the couple bad ones that we got, we're simply saying it didn't go deep enough. Why don't I feel more pain from these people?
You know what my theory on that is?
Yeah.
Having not seen your film, but having gone through this with one documentary is...
But he is going to review it now.
I'm going to review it. Having not seen it, the title left me leaving. The thing is, when you say documentary,
yes,
people have such a specific...
They dial in.
It's got to be...
This is revealing. I made sure it was revealing while making sure it was funny. I made sure we got insights that you didn't have before. One of the good, amazing reviews said it's a masterclass if you have any interest in what goes on behind the mind of a funny person. This film is a must. Those things are great. But those who did critique, and I'm fine with it, found that it didn't go deep enough. And for certain expectations, especially with a word like documentary, there's no question it didn't go deep enough if that's all you wanted. Mm-hmm. I felt it went deep enough while maintaining the ability to be entertaining, which ultimately is what I set out to do as a filmmaker.
Well, some documentary purists, and I found this at some certain festivals, and even like some of Doug Benson's documentaries got those critiques, like, oh, he's just goofing off or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, that's what he is. That's what he's doing. And then
that's him. Though.
That's him. That's the documentary of his life. His life is one big goof off. Yeah. I mean, that's all he does. So, but I remember like doing Afghanistan, everyone heard war documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Comedian in a war zone. So they wanted Fahrenheit 9/11.
Sure,
or they wanted Fog of War. Or they wanted some like heavy thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't know.
That's not what it is.
That's not what
darkness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They wanted this specific thing. So you say a documentary about the psychosis of comics, they want to see people, fucking hanging themselves on camera or whatever, and so some people, when they don't get that, I feel like
That's why I'm trying to get the word out that I really cut it to be a comedy.
People go into every movie with these expectations.
But that genre, man.
That specifically, there's certain things that, when you say documentary, this is what it's.
I want to cry. This is documentary about the killing the whales.
Yeah, there better be a dolphin in distress in this.
Yes, someone better.
Actually, there is.
Yeah,
there is a dolphin in distress in my film. I should point that out. Can't believe I didn't lead with that.
Yeah. That dolphin painting on the side of the improv.
Yeah. Now, does Christopher Walken find the dolphin?
If only. Then now you have yourself a film. Sweet Jesus on a pie tin. If I'm a song and dance man at heart, I kick it old school. So yes.
So now. You've had
just getting into Sundance. Honestly, that's the goal line.
That's huge.
That was
getting
the victory.
Into Sundance is huge.
That's a calling card that goes.
Yeah. So
in fact,
in this past January 15, you were in.
Yes, just a few months ago.
And tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, here's one of my favorite parts. We got to be at the Egyptian Theater on Main Street, which is one of the original Sundance venues. But on the bigger Kevin Pollak overview of the experience, I had been working on this TV show, Mom, with Anna Faris and Allison Janney for the Lord and Savior Chuck Lorre. And I came in the second half of the first season and then did the first half of the second season. And then he decided the love affair that had been written for Allison and my character had given her character too much happiness. And he calls up and tells me, I'm going to have to kill your character. And it was an incredibly fun job, but I was a recurring character with no expectations beyond that. And as much as they kept bringing me back and then
it's a rodeo. You're just hanging on as long as you can.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
it's like
so
Walking Dead.
Sure.
You don't know.
That's exactly right. Are these people really going to ever die? Maybe one every couple of years.
Might come back.
Yeah.
It's never the end.
So he explains why these two women have to be miserable and there's too much happiness. And then my character, here's good news, Kevin. You were so great. You're the most powerful, impactful character to kill of the entire cast to devastate these two women. Great. So cut to 3 months later after we got that news, 6 to 8 weeks after we shot it because it was behind in schedule. The night that aired, because the show had been following in Big Bang Theory, it became a top 10 show, top 6, whatever. It was a huge hit in the second season. So now it's this love affair that Chuck Lorre has decided to end is beloved by the fans. So the Thursday night that it airs, the internet goes a little nutty. The Friday morning after, the internet is exploding with people catching up on their DVR. Why did you kill this character? How could you kill this character? That same morning, it hits the Hollywood Reporter picked up by the AP wire that my documentary that's going to debut at Sundance that afternoon has sold to Tribeca Films. And then that afternoon, we have our world premiere on Main Street at the Egyptian Theater. That all happens within 16 hours. Now, if that episode had aired 2 weeks prior, I could have been sitting home in a bathrobe eating bonbons, and it would have been this horrible, painful remembrance. Instead, I'm on Main Street in Park City for the Sundance Film Festival for my directorial debut. You talk about a window closing and a garage door opening. It was redonkulous.
That's fucking show business.
Yeah.
Like that
really
up
was.
And down.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
it certainly eased the sting. That's for sure.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, the sting had technically happened 4 months prior when he made the phone call to me. 6 to 8 weeks later, we shoot it. And then I'd been living with the sting. So now when this thing finally airs, I got to help people down from the...
Aren't you also worried when Chuck Lorre calls you that you make sure he says the word character? When he's going to kill.
We're going to kill you. I have the money to do this, and you can't stop me.
You asked me if I have a God complex. So that was one of the great memories of it. And then this calling card of your directorial debut. So just 2 weeks ago, my agent calls and says there is interest for you to direct this comedy. This film shoots here in L.A. It's a $3.5 to $5 million budget. And
it's fantastic.
they heard about the buzz of your documentary at Sundance, and they want to meet with you, read the script, and come in and tell them what you would do with it. And I said, make sure they watch the film, my documentary, before I go in and talk with them. But the fact that it had just come from them hearing about the buzz was that nutty byproduct of the Sundance Film Festival.
And that's the upside of the craziness of show business.
Yeah.
Of how the madness can kind of sometimes spin in your favor.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. Every now and then.
You know?
The hype and illusion, the smoke and mirrors falls your way.
Yeah, it's very true.
But I went in and met with these people and told them what I felt was wrong with a good script and how it could have been a great one. And they went for it. And the official offer came in yesterday, and I'm going to direct this comedy.
Are you punching up the script or changing? Or who's?
I'm working on the first act just to make everyone more believable and allow.
Can you mention the name of it, or is it all still kind of?
I'm not sure, but and also I'll look forward to telling you more about it when it's cast and we're shooting.
We'll have it back. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome, man. And so now,
Misery Loves Comedy.
Where is this? Where can people get it?
This week. I don't know when this airs.
It'll air today.
It'll air today.
Great. So today marks the debut of Misery Loves Comedy on iTunes and video on demand on every major cable system in the country. And then next week, it'll play the Tribeca Film Festival.
Right.
And then hit theaters in select cities a week from Friday the 24th.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's just like, I mean, to get even any kind of theatrical release for a doc is...
It's impossible.
Because they know they're not going to make that much money.
And also very few people go. That's why I'm kind of pushing. It's on Amazon. It's on video on demand. It's on iTunes.
Will DVDs be pressed? Or
this is how
digital?
We consume documentaries now, is watching them on our televisions. And eventually there'll be a DVD for sure. Yeah, because we had a Kickstarter campaign for sort of completion funds. And so all the, incredibly supportive people in that regard.
Can you say what the total budget was or?
Of the film?
Yeah.
$350,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
The one of the things we're doing is we haven't announced this yet, but we can incorporate this with your film. Is we're going to be starting we've been working with iTunes to start a Comedy Film Nerds iTunes store, and we'll be able to curate films and actually put films in that section, so people can go to our Comedy Film Nerds page on iTunes. And we'll have select films and books.
Fantastic.
And
anyone that's like you, anyone who's been a guest who has a comedy CD.
We'll be able to put your movie in there.
Just all of it.
Fantastic.
So it's a really cool thing that iTunes is doing. They were at they came to Podfest last year.
Great.
And
it's taken a long time, but we are putting it together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. And thanks for the opportunity to getting the word out.
Dude,
absolutely.
Love it. Our fans love hearing stuff about like this, and they love finding.
And they love you. So I'm sure they will be watching this film.
I would like to talk to them individually. Okay, so Big Eyes?
No, wait, we have an ad to read.
Oh, live read. Do you want me to do it as Christopher Walken?
Yes,
of course we do.
Yes, we do.
All right, I'll sing for my supper. You have a copy?
There it is.
Okay. Hey, kids. You. Audible is offering our listeners, and by our, of course, I mean theirs, a free audiobook. Wow. It's of your choice, by the way, and a free 30-day trial membership. Just go to audiblepodcast.com/your show name. And by your show name, of course, I mean Comedy Film Nerds.
CFN.
Let's just use the letters. Why the whole name? So again, just go to audiblepodcast.com/C as in comedy, F as in fuckface, and N as in nerds. No, don't swear in the ads.
That's all right.
And choose from over, wait for it, 180,000 titles. Download a free title anytime and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audiblepodcast.com/CFN. That's audiblepodcast.com/CFN. Start today. Wow.
How would Danny Collins reach?
I can't believe it. Give me something to touch so that I can tell the fine folks about Audible. Somebody played a harmonica in the background. Some sort of percussion. So did I. Might. Keep talking.
Well, guys, actually, at Audible, there's a couple cool. There's Ready Player One, which is an audiobook, Chris.
Yeah, this is going to be this is an amazing book. I love this book. It's another one if you kind of grew up in the 80s and were a nerd playing Dungeons and Dragons and watching Ultraman and War Games. And Steven Spielberg just signed on to direct the film.
Whoa.
So it may actually get made.
Nice. And Unbroken is on Audible. I know we reviewed that movie early on for all the Oscar stuff. So check it out, guys. And we want to thank Christopher Walken for doing that ad.
My pleasure.
All right, so DVD, we do have Big Eyes coming out. Chris, you saw this. You liked it.
Absolutely loved it. And this is one of the things that gives your faith back into Tim Burton. It's like, okay, well, he wanted to do this movie. And I said I have a written review on the site and said, I wish Tim Burton would just do the movies he wants to make so I could just watch the Tim Burton movies I want to watch.
Did you see?
There's no remake. It's a great movie, and it was more subdued than obviously his crazy gothic stuff, but it's great. It's a great character piece, and it's a great drama. Really,
it's a good story too.
It's a good story. It's based on a true story. I mean, apparently, there's a couple over the top scenes that could have been toned down, but from what I was hearing from some of the fans were telling me, no, that some of that stuff actually happened, and so it's great. Check it out.
All right, now The Babadook.
The Babadook. This is a horror movie from, it's either, I think it's New Zealand or Australia. It's one of those. I think it's Australia.
Okay.
But it was one of those movies that apparently didn't do that well in its home country.
It's actually Australia. It was actually filmed in Adelaide, Australia.
Okay. But it went overseas and it's doing much better here. And I heard it's absolutely terrifying. But it's also fans are also saying it's not just a horror movie; it's a dark drama too. So I've been kind of afraid to see it because the trailer scared the shit out of me. And but I heard it's really good, so I'll man up and watch it now that it's on DVD.
And if anyone out there's seen it, always like to hear what you guys have to say. And then Batman versus Robin.
Yes, this is the new Warner Brothers straight animated feature that picks up where Batman has a son. And they kind of get into a little bit of conflict.
Ooh.
But I've loved these straight to DVD animations. They've been really good, and I'm hoping this one will be just as good as Son of the Demon.
All right. Oh, what's coming out in the theaters this week?
Oh, dear Lord. I don't know. It's almost like there's a concerted effort to give you nothing to watch for the weekend.
Mall Cop 2 is out. And
answering all the unanswered questions from Paul Blart Mall Cop 1.
Now he's going to Vegas. I just can't wait. And I just, as independent filmmakers, we're scraping by to get our movies made.
It just does your heart good to see movies.
It did,
like this
knowing that.
There's always going to be a fat guy bumping into stuff.
Yeah. And what we have to do to scrape together just to finish this movie is probably a 6-figure line item for his fucking hairpiece accountant or whatever he's got. You know what I mean?
Hairpiece accountant?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, no, hairpiece astrologer. Yeah.
Fatty falls down.
So
now, I will say it's the one smart thing they did with this movie that they don't even pretend that this movie is for adults. And this is something that you wouldn't know, Graham, because you don't have children, is what they've decided.
They watch it and laugh.
No. PG, they dropped it all the way down to PG, so it's going to be big, broad, dumb, and goofy. But they're supporting Paul Blart, Mall Cop, with some actors from those tween Disney shows. So it also gets the smaller kid, like girls my daughter's age, 10-year-olds, interested in going to see this movie. They have no idea who Kevin James is. They see some of the actresses or actors they like from their Disney shows, and they see a fat guy being goofy and falling down. So
he bumps into something in the trailer
100 times.
4 times. Yeah. I counted. There are 4 bumping in the trailer where he bumps into something.
Then he falls down.
In Vegas.
So, and then as counter-programming, if a shitty comedy is not your speed, how about a shitty horror movie might be more your speed?
This looks like it's an interesting premise. I don't know if it's going to be executed correctly. It's
Unfriended.
Unfriended. It's about some girl does something, and then there's a video. She does something she shouldn't at a party, and then everyone cyberbullies her online. Oh, she was whatever at a party, so she ends up dying, and then apparently her ghost comes back to haunt these people, sort of like in a Final Destination.
Starts to off them.
Yeah. Starts to off them, which is a cool kind of premise to me, but I don't know how it's going to be.
I'd rather everyone just seek out the Babadook and look for that one instead.
Yeah, or just go to iTunes and get Misery Loves Comedy.
Yeah, do that as well. The next one is the next one is Monkey Kingdom. Now this is Disney has like a new division called Disney Nature where they release all these nature documentaries, but they get very little promotion and very little press, and they're only in theaters for an extremely short amount of time. And also the interesting thing is they haven't always been that well reviewed either. Like they can't really figure out this Disney brand yet. So I'm not sure how this one will be. And the last abomination to hit the theaters this weekend is Monsters: The Dark Continent. This is a sequel from the indie film Monsters. But, you know, the original director's a little too busy going on and directing Godzilla. So he has nothing to do with this movie, and it's clearly a cash grab. But what's fascinating is that movies, because CG has gotten so cheap to do now,
Right.
Now you have like these elaborate and epic pretending movies with these big giant monsters and special effects that are actually really cheap and small and are more like Sci-Fi Channel movies, but they try to make them more epic in scope, specifically with the computer-generated images. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. This still looks like a cheap, you know, thrown together movie with technology that is easier to use. That's all it is. So the next thing we want to talk about is the site spotlight and the fan feedback. Our own Neil Weekly went to the Turner Classic Movies Film Festival along with Alan Havey. And Neil it was the first time he went, and he had an absolute blast, and he did a 2-part review on the site. He really went into it, and you could actually feel his enthusiasm as you're reading it, like how much fun he had, and all the celebrities he saw, and the screenings, and it's a great read. You can check out both parts.
And we're going to have Alan Havey on the show, and he's going to do a special he's going to talk about all the films he saw at Turner Classic like we do every year. So that'll be coming out probably in the next week.
Big update. You guys are officially out of water. Just grab the last one.
Good to know.
Good to know. We're out of water at the Comedy Film Nerds Garage. And then fan feedback. We posted something on the Facebook page. What is the most overused movie? A song in a movie. And got some great ones. Kung Fu Fighting. Jesse Pick said Kung Fu Fighting. That one came up several times. I posted, and several people posted, the For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield, which has been in every Vietnam movie ever. Something's happening here, baby.
They must attach that song just when the script is in development.
Yeah.
When they're
and we got that song, right?
Right. We can't. Yeah, that's a.
And there always has to be a line of dialogue from an American soldier going, "After America wins this war, we're going to clean," you know, and it's like, no, that didn't happen. Whoa. Yeah, we got it.
We're the policemen of the world.
Yeah, didn't happen. Some other cool ones.
And by the way, what it is ain't exactly clear. Horseshit. It's clear.
It's crystal clear. Who else? Joshua Hartfeld put Bob O'Reilly by The Who, used in every trailer of inspiring coming-of-age movie from the 90s, which is nice. Doug Anderson did Walking on Sunshine.
That's a good one.
That one we heard a lot. Hamish Moore said, "How do you like me now?" Rich Johnson, Ride of the Valkyries. These are awesome. I love when you guys, like, I could read them.
None of you were wrong.
None of you.
No incorrect answers so far.
No. Oh, God. Laura Bromley, Sympathy for the Devil. God, if I have to hear that one more time, I'm sorry. I can't do it. I like the song. Heard it too much. So thanks, guys, for posting your comments, of course, on the Film Nerd fan page on Facebook, of course, the message boards. We love hearing from you from all those places. I think that's our program, gentlemen. I think 264. We can put it in the books.
Wrap it up. Lock it down.
Lock it down. Kevin, where can people find you on the internet?
I don't see how that's your business. Oh, I'm sorry. At Kevin Pollak, no C in Pollak, on the Twitter. Kevin Pollak 123 on the Instagram. And there's a fan page, I believe, on the Facebook for the Kevin Pollak chat show, although I have nothing to do with it.
Well, your assistant takes care of it.
No, one of the our wildly overqualified, underpaid interns on the chat show looks after it and does a hell of a job. I'm not on Facebook because I don't give a shit what my friends do and what their kids look like. I can't pretend to care anymore. I'm on Twitter. Have been for 6.5 years.
But you don't have to look at anybody on Twitter.
I love the attention of total strangers. Clearly. That's way more important to me than my friends.
Where can people find the chat show?
Well, you can go to the iTunes, the YouTube, the Earwolf comedy podcast.
And it's weekly,
network.
right? Every Sunday?
Practically. We like to miss Sundays on occasion. May miss this one. I don't know. Not feeling it. No. Out of 52 Sundays a year, we probably hit 40 to 42.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Had some great ones lately. Sam Rockwell was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Really.
God, he's an awesome actor.
Yeah, he's incredible. Peter Gould, one of the co-creators of Better Call Saul, is coming up in May. Matt Weiner has agreed to come on, so we're locking a date. It'll be very exciting. So the chat show's on iTunes, Hulu, Earwolf, YouTube.
It's on Hulu?
Yeah.
Oh, the video part.
Yeah.
Got it.
Sure, we've got that video.
Yeah.
That pain in the ass fucking video. And I love those tweets. Hey, what's with your site? I can't download the episode. Nobody wants to download that much data. What's the matter with you?
Ever.
Stream it. Watch it when you can.
Yeah.
You don't want to download it.
Yeah.
Come on, people.
No one has that space.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
what are you, over 25?
Can't do it. Of course, guys, LA Podfest, September 18th through the 20th. We just confirmed Aisha.
Yes, Aisha Tyler will be there.
Jackie Cation. We just confirmed Tofop. So the lineup's looking great. It's going to be a fun festival. Of course, you can go to lapodfest.com to get tickets. We will be doing
a lot of brand new shows that haven't been in so far, and also some returning favorites.
So check that out, guys.
And that is our deadline, earbud screening. It will be happening.
Jesus Christ, it fucking better. That's the show. I got some tour dates coming up. You can get those on comedyfilmers.com or grahamelwood.com. Anything else, Chris?
No, that's everything.
All right, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you, our guest, Kevin Pollak. And,
thank you, fellas.
All of the guests that he brought.
Bananas. I got a second bottle of water, but where are the bananas?
My name is Graham Elwood.
And I'm Chris Mancini. As always, remember,
Han shot first.
Ice skating.
Who was that? Is that Lily Tomlin?
One ringy dingy.